Hey you guys, this is Scoop Belair here. Today I want to come to you guys with something just a little bit different. And I'm not exactly sure how this is going to come out, but it works pretty good in my class when I'm able to work in this example into one of my lessons early each school year. So let me just give a little bit of backstory here. For starters, Pink Floyd is an amazing rock and roll band. They had an iconic album called The Wall, and it was all about fighting against the institution. And it was a really big symbol, this wall that they used for the album. Just in case those of you guys, certain people out there might not quite know that, I wanted to add those important details ahead of time. And then what I want to point out is in my class at the beginning of the school year is we have kind of an icebreaker, creative writing type of thing where students practice for just a day or two talking about a personal experience where they at certain points talk in great detail and really slow the story down. And at other points, make it really quick actions, one thing after another, to speed the story up. And it's a difficult concept for eighth graders to grasp. So what I do each year is I model this for them, and I tell them about a story using that same example where I speed up when I want things to happen quickly, and I slow down when I want things to happen more slowly. And I do it in a way that I think they tend to find it pretty interesting. And I think part of that is because it's a story that they could almost relate to because I was at a similar age to where they're at now. And it's kind of an environment I think a lot of them would enjoy being at. So I figured what I would do is tell you guys the same story in the same way. So it's almost giving you like a little peek behind storytelling, because I didn't really know this about storytelling until I started teaching this. But that speeding up and slowing down is a lot of time what engages the viewer. So as I'm trying to get better and better at doing this storytelling thing, I figured I would show you guys a peek behind the scenes of some of the storytelling techniques. And that's what I want to do for you here. Now, in this case, the example that I want to use was a Pink Floyd concert that my younger brother and I went to. Technically, both of my brothers and I went to this same concert. And in this story, you're going to see where I go from doing things quickly to slowing things down. And once I get started with the story, I'm not going to stop again. I just wanted to make sure you guys are knowing what to look for. So here's how it went as I described this to my kids in school. So my younger brother and I went to a concert. It was right after I got my license, so I just turned 16. My older brother was at the same Pink Floyd concert, and it was huge. It was at the same stadium that the Dolphins held their football games at in Miami, called the Orange Bowl. And my older brother was there with 3 of his high school friends, and they were sitting about where the 40-yard line is, on the side about halfway up the bleachers. And they were okay seats, and that's where our seats were also. But my younger brother and I, we were so excited to be here to see Pink Floyd. And really, it was our first huge concert of this sort, and we were at the Orange Bowl where our favorite football team played. So we weren't just happy sitting there. We actually spent the time trying to get closer and closer to where the stage was. And for the first 30 minutes were one thing after another. We ducked down over here. My brother found a way to get around one guardrail, and I followed him around, and we were one section closer than where our tickets actually allowed. And then my brother found the ticket stub, and then he walked in, climbed up about 3 rows of stairs, leaned over and dropped the stub to me, and I was able to get in also. And by this point, we were on the actual area that we were able to sneak down to the floor, but we were still a good about 100 yards away from where the stage was. It was about midway through the concert, and it was so cool because the music was great, and the vibe was neat, and there were people that were everywhere. And then all of a sudden, we dipped to the right, we moved about 20 more rows to the front, and as we cut back to the left, the greatest thing started happening. It started raining. And everybody had to decide at that point what to do. And the ushers were all looking around because all the people were moving and some people were moving in, but most of the people were trying to find shelter. And we found a way to dip in over here, duck to the left, and then we had to climb over about 4 or 5 different rows of chairs. But then we got to the area where the people were standing and we worked our way up towards the front. And right as they were playing the encore, we were standing right in front of this huge wall listening to Pink Floyd play Another Brick in the Wall. And it was absolutely amazing. And then the song came to an end, and it was almost surreal because here we were standing in the very same stadium where our favorite football team played, in the actual corner end zone where they had kicked a field goal not long before to win an important game. But to me, it wasn't time to go yet. So I looked around and I saw down, I looked at my sneakers covered in mud, and I decided to do it. I took my right hand, I bent down, I pushed my hand in the grass, and I could feel the wet grass underneath as I pushed down and saw the mud ooze between my fingers, even under my fingernails. And I heard the psh as I pulled it out of there slowly, looked over and saw my brother was looking to see what I was going to do, and I said, pointed at him and said, over here. And he came over, he did the same thing, and I immersed my hand back in there, and his hand once again swooshed into the water, and his came out, and his was in her fingers, but it was the same look. And we took 3 steps, and we walked over. I lifted my right hand, he lifted his left hand, and at the same time, boom, we put our hands and our fingerprints on the wall. The wall. And when we got back afterwards and met up with my brother and his 3 friends, they had experienced the concert, kept talking about the lights and how cool it was seeing the rain and all the people and everything. But for my younger brother and I, we had such an experience because we got our handprints in the wall. So anyways, truth be told, I don't remember exactly what the encore song was, but most of that other stuff actually really happened. And it was so cool to be able to have had that experience. But even now, it's so neat when I'm able to tie this in with the kids in class, because I'm telling you, they take this and run with this when they know what they're supposed to do, because all of them have had experiences or can imagine experiences or can embellish things a little bit and make things sound interesting. And what's cool with kids, a lot of times the ones you don't expect it from come up with some of the most interesting things. But anyways, this really wasn't a lesson. I just wanted to kind of tell you guys a neat story that happened when I was younger, but also give you a little peek behind how storytelling works in general. As usual, please subscribe, like, and share for even more Scoop Malaire.